ourselves, as was my point. IELTS is endogenous, going back to the question, who asked me that? Jose. So it's endogenous. However, please note, in the 1960s and then in the subprime crisis and then in COVID, here is what the government tries to do. So the long end is going up, right? And in the Kennedy administration and then in COVID, then in the subprime crisis, the feds actually, if you can believe this, try and manipulate it. It's like anathema. It's like the most egregious thing you can ever do to this beautiful endogenous bond market. They forcibly try, and the feds have tried to force down the long end artificially. Yes, wow is the perfect. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's like you look through the macroeconomic radar into the future and you don't like what you see. You know, long end's going up. So what do? You paste another picture. Oh, I like this one better. Hey, Operation Twist. And the guy, the professor who brought me to Rutgers, Giles Mellon, he's passed away now, God bless him. But he was a banker's banker. He got Paul Volcker's job at Goldman Sachs when Volcker went to the Fed. Wasn't Greenspan's job, one of them. And so, a real banker. And so, many years ago, Giles called me up and said, Bro, can you believe what's happening? This was in the subprime crisis. I said, what, Giles? He said, they're doing Operation Twist. I hadn't even heard of it. I said, what? I never heard of it. Bro, Kennedy administration, where you twist down the long end artificially. So basically, you lower the long-term rates, you're selling long-term bonds, and you're increasing the supply of low-number funds at the long end. So pushing down artificially the long end to fake out the market. Hey, you look, long end's coming down. Everybody calm down. And it was called Operation Twist because in the 60s when it was done, Chubby Checker's song, Twist, was on top of the hits. So hence Operation Twist, twisting it down. And so now it was done in COVID. So
did they manipulate the options or did they just change the curve?
For you, supply of loanable funds, basically demand for loanable funds, and this is long-term debt. So increase the supply of loanable funds at the long end, and so push the long-term rates down. So pushing artificially, pushing the long-term rates down, and nothing happens. You know, why would this make no difference? You know, these are the Feds who are doing this. I mean, where did they get their PhDs from? Certainly not this place, I hope. You know, so made no difference. Made no difference in the 60s that you artificially bring the long end down. Make no difference now. Why? You don't even need to tell me from what you know. Why would that make no difference? By artificially pushing the long end down.
Doesn't address the problem of inflation.
Nick's at the goal. It's almost there, Nick. I mean, let's say you're consumers. This is Helena trying to borrow. And here was the yield curve. And now, artificially, it's suddenly the long-term rates have come down. You think we're going to fool her? No. As Nick said, you're looking around you. You're seeing inflation. The mortgage rates aren't going to go down. These are the treasury yield curve rates, right? The mortgage rates, there's no twisting happening there. Those guys are going to be doing the real thing. They don't want to lose their shirts, playing this idiotic game. And so, they didn't fool anybody then.
Yeah, but mortgage rates affect upon this
Not really. For you, the 1-year arms are close to this, but then after that it's a free for all. The 1-year arms are, adjustables are close to the 1 year. So, it doesn't fool anybody. You know, you cannot fool people by just forcibly faking the price. Maybe for a while, but they'll figure out, okay, this is nonsense. So that was the Operation Twist, going back to the question that you asked. All right, stay with me now. We are going to maximum power. We are going into the engine room, the heart of the course. So my voice falls by an octave. You can see the engines are sounding different now. Those are really neat notes, Sarah. Beautiful. Very nice. All right, here we are, ISLM. Stay with me, maximum power. Okay, here we go. ISLM, the engine room. So being an engineer, this is the heart of the matter. It could be the motherboard for the IT people, but the engine room. So, what's going on here? So for us for some of you it's been very confusing. You know, we had supply and demand for loanable funds. Supply and demand for loanable fund. Then we had the goods market. You don't have to draw all this. Then we had the goods market. Then we had the money market. Then we had PY space. And you're going in the homework, some of you were saying, Farah, which diagram do you want? I mean, when you say click, you're driving me crazy here. You know, I can click 9 different ways. What are you looking for? I mean, which one? Now there's a new one coming, the vertical one. What? So, too much. And how are they connected? I mean, when you do an increase in demand for loanable funds, interest rates go up here. Well, how does that affect this one? What's the feedback effect to this one? How is the feedback, how is the transmission happening? So, here we are. So ISLM, we're going to take the goods market. And we're going to put it in IY space. And that's going to be the IS curve. So we're going to take this messy, weird goods market, the demand for loanable funds and all that, and we're going to put this in the space, interest rates on this axis, GDP on this axis, interest rate, and this is called the IS curve. And please note, IS and LM, sadly, doesn't really stand for anything, it's just notation. You know, it's like, you're familiar with a cereal called Grape Nuts? Grape Nuts? Yes, no? Are there any grapes in it? No. Are there any nuts in it? No. We call it Grape Nuts, it means nothing. Right? So it's kind of like that. Maybe if you like investment savings and liquidity for money, but when Hicks and Keynes and people like that built this, it was mostly just notation. So we'll take the goods market and put this in IY space today. Then we'll take the money market. It's the money market here. Money supply, money demand, I0, money. And we put this on the LM curve, and we put it in the same space. So what I'm taking you today is we're going to take the goods market, money market, and streamline everything. All those crazy diagrams, which are driving some of you crazy, are going to be streamlined and in the same space. And how will that help? They're both going to be in IY space, and so we can simultaneously analyze fiscal and monetary policy. So this is where we are going. They're both going to be in the same space. All the feedback effects between the goods market, which is fiscal policy, the monetary policy, will be analyzed. So this is where I'm taking you, ISLM. Okay, so let's stay with me here. Let's build the IS curve. Let's start with the goods market and build the IS curve. Chapter 7. Let me erase this now. So they're both, all the mess we have will be in just one diagram, and everything is going to come together finally. Building the IS curve. So here we are, IS curve. So here we go. Y is C plus I plus G. So we're just going to use the domestic economy. So when the value of what we make is equal to C plus I plus G, this is the equilibrium condition in the goods market. You've seen this before?
Why are we not using imported?
No, so we are focusing on closed economy right now. So right now we're closed. Then you can bring it in later on. So we're going from there, goods market equilibrium. This is the goods market which we've seen in class. Here, and here. This was 750, if you remember. That was the goods market. Now somebody tell me, try not to look at the book, work with me now. Take me into a world like this with I and Y. So convert this mess into a world where interest rates on one axis and there's Y on the other axis. Take me from there to an expression that I can put into I-Y space. How would you do that? Interest rates in there, Y in there. Yes, great. Yeah, so we have, let's do, thank you, Y. And so let's plug in for C. C bar plus BY. Let's plug in for I. It's I bar minus FI. Is all this coming back? Plus G. So all we did here, we just plugged in those expressions that we knew for C and for I. Our old friends from last class, consumer confidence, investor confidence. What is this little B here? Do you remember? What's that, Megan? Right, amount people consume from each increase in dollar. What was the expression? What was that known as? MPC. Thank you, Dave. Marginal propensity to consume. And what is C bar and I bar? Okay, thank you. And so we need I in terms of Y. So let's simplify. Almost done. Simplifying. We get I equals A bar over F minus 1 minus B over F times Y. And here we are. That's your IS curve. And let's play around with it for a while.
What's A bar?
Thank you. Where A bar is C bar plus I bar plus G. So for your convenience, I've lumped that mess, those three guys as A bar. Just sort of one term instead of three hanging around in there. So now you don't have to memorize the derivation. You don't have to memorize the equation. You just have to know how this line moves around, which is where I'm taking you now. So what does this look like? Greg's told us already. If you were to plot this, what does this look like? This is I, this is Y. Remember the slope-intercept form? Come on. What's the slope? What's the intercept? Pauline, help me here. So this is the intercept. And this here is the slope. So what does this line look like? It's a negative slope. What's the intercept? Here we are, here is the IS. Here is the slope. Is 1 minus b over f. And this is the intercept term. So this here is a bar over f, or c bar plus I bar plus g over f. So that's intercept is this gap here, this length here. That's the intercept. And the slope is the slope. And what are all these points in plain English? Try not to look at the book. This one, this one, this one. What are all these points in plain English? These are all points in IY space. Finish a sentence for me. What's that? Where? Yeah. Come on, after you finish copying, what are all those points, all those various combinations? Remember, we used y is c plus I plus g to derive this whole thing. So that's the genesis of all this. Y is c plus I plus g is the equilibrium condition in the goods market. So we derived this. So all of these are combinations where what?
Where you remain in equilibrium?
Thank you. Where the goods market, that's what I'm looking for. The goods market is in equilibrium. So y is equal to c plus I plus g here. Y is equal to c plus I plus g here. Y is equal to c plus I plus g here. Y is equal to c plus I plus g. These are all combinations where the goods market is in equilibrium. And what I'm going to show you now is what you need to know. What happens to this line when Biden's stimulus plan goes into effect? So this is what you need to know. So let's do it. Experiments with IS. G increases. And let's say this is good G. So let's not get bogged down in good G versus bad G. So Biden stimulus. Biden build back better. Here's the IS curve. Here is the slope, 1 minus b over f. And this here is c bar plus I bar plus g over f. So after you finish copying, what happens to this line when the Biden stimulus goes into effect? And from now on, believe it or not, folks, it actually gets almost trivial. So the hard part, if you will, was the heavy lifting building this model. Using this model is actually going to be easier than chapter 3, G minus T, S minus S. It's going to be automatic. Trust me on this. So G goes up, Biden's stimulus plan goes into effect later this year. What happens to the slope of this line? Will anything happen, Leah, to the slope? Will the slope change?
Oh no, it starts.
Yeah, shit, but what about the slope? Right? Let's focus on the slope right now. Will anything happen to the slope? No. So no change in the slope. Why? There's no G in the slope. So there you go. Now slope's not going to change. Okay, Leah, now what will happen to the intercept term? Thank you.
sideways.
So here we are as G increases. So intercept term and vice versa. So here G decreases. This is what you'll be using in the course. The movements. How about another one? Let's call this one. How about number 2? Massive collapse in confidence. So, worst case scenario. China goes into Taiwan and Putin goes into Ukraine, and obviously not going to happen, but here, show me here what happens in this diagram. Worst case scenario, confidence collapses. Will anything happen to the slope? No. So see that from now on, it's all very analytical. It's almost trivial. No C bar, no I bar, nothing happens to the slope. Let's look at the intercept. What will happen as confidence collapses? Yeah, C bar and I bar. So C bar, I bar down. And so here we are. And the opposite holds true. So IS shifts down. And vice versa. Done and done. Let's introduce taxes now. So then we'll be done with IS, by the way. So right now you have government spending moving it up, decrease in government spending down, confidence moving it up, confidence down, and what we'll see when we are done with this next class, we'll get into it. We have confidence changing, government spending changing, tax rates changing, money supply changing, and I'm going to drag in the rest of the world too. Europe slows down and crashes, or Europe takes off, or China's economy crashes. So we'll be bringing in global linkages from our international trade class. We'll be bringing back the global sector next time. So, coming soon. So, here we go. Taxes. IS with taxes. Stay with me now. So, IS with tax rate T. With taxes. So we have Y is C, T is I is G, where CT is consumption function with taxes. And you've seen all this before. So CT is C bar plus BYD. Forget W for now. What is YD? Do you remember that?
Disposable income.
Okay.
Disposable income.
Yes, YD is disposable or after tax income. That is Y minus TY. And so this is the gross income. And this is the tax rate. Let's say 35%. It's making it up. So that's equal to y times 1 minus t. So that's your disposable income. So we have consumption function, and you've seen this before, is c bar plus byd, or c bar plus by 1 minus t. This here is yd. So all we've done now is just kind of brought in the tax rate into the disposable income. That's your consumption function with taxes. And now let's plug it all in. And then we are done with this thing. And so, deriving the IS again. With taxes, we're going to y. So CT is C bar plus by 1 minus t. This is CT plus I bar minus Fi. This is I plus G. And simplifying, I is A bar over F minus 1 minus B 1 minus T over F times Y. And I'm going to slow down now, and let's now play with this one. You don't have to memorize any of this stuff. Here is the IS curve with taxes, and now let's see how this thing shifts. Yeah. F is I bar minus Fi. That was your investment function. And F is really the sensitivity of capital investment to the interest rate. It's kind of like the MPC. So it's make it 0.5. It just sits there. Doesn't change. It's fixed. So it's like an elasticity, if you will, for the investment. Okay, so what does this look like? Now, this is what's the important part. You guys tell me, what does this baby look like? Here we are, Y, and earlier, a few minutes ago, we had the IS curve without taxes. That was I is A bar over F minus 1 minus B over F times Y. And now we have something that looks quite similar. What's the shape of this guy? What's the intercept? What's the slope? Come on, Pooja, yeah. So that's the intercept. And what's the slope? This whole mess, right? That's the slope. All right, so it's downward sloping, right? Negative slope. Yes, no, negative. Thank you. So here we are. This is the baby now. IS with taxes. Slope is 1 minus B, 1 minus T over F. The intercept, A bar over F, which is C bar plus I bar plus G over F. And that's your IS curve with taxes. That's the intercept, and that's the slope. And you can see, if you put tax rates equal to 0, you get the old slope, 1 minus B over F. If you put tax rates equal to 0 here, you get this baby here. And all these points are points of equilibrium. Y is equal to C plus I plus G in the goods market. Y is equal to C plus I plus G. Y is equal to C plus I plus G. So how does this baby compare with the old IS curve? So the old IS curve, you look at the intersect points. So they're the same, different. What does it look like? Any guesses? Intersect points, that one and the new one, the same. So here we have the slope is different. So if you plugged in numbers, this is what it would look like. This is the old IS slope is 1 minus b over f. And so we're almost done with this. Same intersect, sorry. Write this better. IS, no taxes. And here, slope 1 minus b, 1 minus t over f. So what can you infer from this? You have no taxes, and then you have some tax rate t. What happens to the IS curve?
As lower equilibrium points.
So basically in terms of diagrammatic, then, so when you increase tax, look at this, there were no taxes and there were taxes, the slope got steeper, right? So here is an experiment. This is what you need to do. So, experiment. If Biden increases tax rates, from T0 to T1, so 35% to 39%. I'm just making up some numbers. What happens to the IS curve? What's the logic? Because look at this, from no taxes to some taxes. So, some taxes to greater taxes, which way, what will happen?
Steeper.
Thank you. And so what you have here is that here we are IS T0 and IY, and this is A bar over F. And so in this diagram, somebody else, what will happen when you raise taxes? Look at that. There's no tax rate in the intercept term. There's a tax rate in the slope, and the logic is there were no taxes, and now when the taxes it droops down. So as you raise taxes, as Greg's told us, what happens to this baby? What? Yes, thank you. And so this is what you need to know. IS pivots clockwise. And vice versa. So if you cut tax rates, so this is what you need to know. Tax rates cause a change in the slope, it pivots. It droops down. The way to remember it is when you raise tax rates, it's depressing. The plant droops down. Tax increase. Cut tax rates, it's like adding water to a plant. It perks up. Yeah, Dan.
Is there ever a case where it's not like a downward curve where it's? Could there ever be a condition where it's an upwards slope?
Let's hold off on that.
Okay.
It's like a weird liquidity trap thing. So here's a question for you. If the economy is fragile and weak, has been through some major trauma, SAP bubble or something, and then the government raises taxes. Government panics, and so question. Tax rates are increased in a fragile and vulnerable economy. What happens next? Try not to look at the book. So I is C bar plus I bar plus G over F minus 1 minus B, 1 minus T over F times Y. Here is your IS curve. So it's a fragile economy. This baby's been through a really bad time. And this is C bar plus I bar plus G. So think intuitively. And now the government says, we're going to raise taxes on you. And we actually did that in the Great Depression. So in the Great Depression, we will do chapter 9. We made 4 incredible mistakes in the Great Depression, one after another after another. And one mistake was, which really made things, all of them made things much worse. They actually caused the Great Depression. And one mistake was we raised taxes after the stock market crash. Can you imagine massive increases in taxes after the market had crashed? So completely, what would happen here? Yeah, what will it do to confidence? Remember, C bar and I bar, remember we just did this in class? What's the effect of tax increases on C bar and I bar? They hate them. Remember, I bar hates business taxes. Just mentioning taxes convulses C bar and I bar. Nobody wants to work or start a business to have the government take it away. Nobody. And that's a universal sentiment. And so confidence goes, what happens to the slope when you raise taxes? Right, and so come on Pooja, what will happen here? Both of them, it's a double whammy. So you will have the C bar going down and taxes going up. So the IS curve, double whammy, IS prime. So bang bang. So you can see already this is such a nimble model. We'll be able to do a lot with it. So in the US, in Great Depression, it was incredible. Chapter 9 is going to blow your mind. We had a tiny deficit and we decided, oh my gosh, we've got to balance it. So we raised taxes after the market crashed. And the market crash was horrific. Standard oil, $120 in the morning, 15 cents at the end of the day, and no buyers. International Harvester, $150 in the morning, 12 cents. That's what we're talking about. And so after that happened, 24% to 65%. And so wham wham, double wham. It was just incredible. 4 mistakes. This is one of them. Japan, do we have any Japanese here? Japan, 4 times in 10 years. Just when Japan is supposed to try to recover, they raise taxes. There goes C bar and I bar. There is the back down. 4 times in 10 years. And Japan used to be a powerhouse. Okay, let's do LM, and then we are done. So we'll set the stage for next class. So the IS, we've done everything. We've done shifts up and down. We've done taxes. We've got a combo here. And let's look at the monetary policy. The other side now, LM. Hang in there with me, and then we'll be done. Here we go, LM, equilibrium, in the money market in IY space. And so here is money supply, real money supply is equal to money demand. So that's the equilibrium condition in the money market. All right, so let's talk about this. So I tell Chris, Chris, come do some research work with me, and I'll pay you 100 gourds an hour. A gourd is a unit of currency in Haiti. So what is the logical question that Chris will ask me? Langdana said, come on, let's work a paper together. I'm going to pay you 100 gourds an hour, man, Chris. What will he ask? What would you ask me?
How does that convert to the other?
How quickly what?
D-value.
D-values? You're already assuming my God's going to devalue? What's in other words? What do you ask me, Chris?
What's the worth in dollars?
So yeah, it's like Langdana, what the heck does that mean? Will 100 gourds get me like a cup of coffee? Will 100 gourds get me like, hey, groceries for a week? What does it mean? So what is the purchasing power? What does it mean? So just currency means nothing. Of course we know of dollars and yen and euro obviously, but theoretically by itself they mean nothing. So you need to know what's the purchasing power, right? So money supply in macro is known as the real money supply. So money supply in macro, this is the real money supply. Which is the real purchasing power of money in circulation. Here we have folks, it's getting real now, pun intended, power of cash in circulation. And that's equal to M divided by P. Where M is dollars controlled by the Fed. Here we are, Feds come into the picture. Dana, remind you about the broken rhombus, please, from chapter 11. Thank you. And P is dollars per good. So, if I said, Chris, so this is, let's say you got $100 in your pocket, and this is dollars per good is the price of a consumption bundle or a market basket like from chapter 2. And let's say that's 25 per good. And so now, what's the real money supply? So we have converted the real money supply into what? What? So what's the answer there? Dollars for goods. And so please know, so the real money supply is in real terms. So that means, Chris, 100 gourds maybe 4 consumption bundles. Each consumption bundle is gasoline, rent, food, groceries, subway fares, whatever. So real money supply is in units of goods. Units, real units, okay? We will look at real wages in a few weeks. So in macro, it's real money supply, real goods, in this case 4 goods. And so let's fill that up here. And so therefore, we have money supply. So we have now real money supply. Equals money demand. Almost there, and then we'll be done. We'll be out of the woods. The model will be ready to play with. So M over P. And money demands is one last thing, KY minus HR. So let's talk about that and then we are done. So money demand is KY minus HR. So this is demand for cash in your pocket, demand for cash balances. This is working capital for work, at work, demand for cash. This is how much money you carry with you in your pocket. This is income. And this is interest rates. So this is the interest rate on your CDs, on your savings account, or if you parked your money in the bank. And K and H are constants. The elasticities, let them just be 0.5, 0.5, forget about it. So this is how much money you carry in your wallet. You carry $500, carry $1,000, you carry $25, or your company carries $25,000 in cash, or Victoria's medical service carries $1,500 in cash every day, or 15,000. So what does it mean? Explain the minus sign. Explain this one intuitively. As Y goes up, demand for cash balances goes up. What's going on here? Give me some intuition. As your income goes up here, demand for cash goes up here. What is that?
Discretionary spending goes up.
Sorry?
Your discretionary spending goes up, so you demand.
Yeah, so as your income goes up, instead of carrying $25 in your pocket, you're carrying $75. You're making more trips, you're eating out more, you're tipping more, or there are more transactions. So the demand for cash goes up as income goes up. It's positive. Why is this a minus sign, Sarah? Interest rates goes up. Why does the demand for cash go down? Anushri. Yeah. So let's say interest rates on your checking account is 9%.
You're keeping
Okay,
money.
So would you now carry $1,000 in your pocket or $20 in your pocket?
$20.
It's 9%. If you park it in your savings account, your checking account.
Yes.
You guess to what?
I would keep money in the savings account if the rates were
Right,
high.
exactly. So instead of pulling out $1,000, just pull out 20 because that's all you need today. Let it be there. Let it earn interest. Make more trips to the ATM. Go downstairs to the lobby, pay your $2 or whatever, and make more trips to the ATM if it's earning 9%, right? If it's earning 0.0001%, then just get $1,000 instead of schlepping there and waiting in line and all that, right? And so, as interest rates increase, it costs more to carry cash, so you carry small amounts of cash. So that's all. It's called the opportunity cost. So, what you need to know, here we are, simplifying, almost there. So simplifying. So M over P is K Y minus HI. Money supply is equal to money demand. And so simplifying, here we go. That I is K over H minus 1 over H M over P. Here we are, folks. We've reached a huge milestone in this course. Here is the LM. You don't have to memorize any of this. All you have to know is how this baby shifts. And how do we use this for analyzing macroeconomic policy? So after you finish copying, try not to look at the book. What does this guy look like? What's the slope? What's the intercept? So, intercept is K over H. Remember, the intercept, the slope, sorry, forgot the Y. And so whatever is multiplied by the y, sorry, I'm losing power here. So what's the slope, what's the intercept now? Is the y in here?
Slope is k over h.
Thank you. So this is the slope. Who said that? Thank you. This is the slope. And whatever is left over is the intercept. Remember, the slope is whatever is multiplied to the guy on the horizontal axis. So the guy on the horizontal axis is y. Whatever is multiplied to that guy is the slope. And whatever is left over is the intercept. We all know this, right? And so what's the slope, Pooja? Positive or negative? So which direction, like that?
No.
Thank you. And so here we are. And the intercept is negative or positive?
Negative.
Thank you. So here we are, folks. We hold the LM. And this here is minus 1 over h m over p. This is interest rates. And the slope is k over h. And let this be minus 95. We plug in some numbers. So this. Okay. And what are all these points in plain English?
Equilibrium.
Thank you. And all points, give me the whole sentence, in IY space, where
Equilibrium in the money market.
thank you, where the money market is in equilibrium. And so all along here, real money supplies, money demand, real money supplies, money demand, real money supplies, money demand, real money supplies, money demand. So we're done. And let's play around with this guy, and then next class, all we'll do will be a whole bunch of analyses. I'll do some in class, you will do a bunch. We'll look at COVID, Biden, and we'll look at what's happening in China. But let's do some experiments. What happens if the Fed increases money supply? Here we go. Fed, central bank. So that's could be any central bank. Central bank, People's Bank of China, Reserve Bank of India, European Central Bank increases M. Okay, what happens to this curve? And this is what you are going to need to know. So Megan, yeah. Let's go step by step, Megan. Will anything affect the slope? Solomon, will anything affect the slope? Zahi? No. There is no M in the slope. See now it really is trivial. The hard part was, the annoying part was building this. So no change in slope. Since no M in the slope. Okay, Leah, help me here with the next one. What happens to the intercept? Connie, what happens to the intercept? So M goes up, right? So this number goes to more negative. So therefore, as M increases, this is minus 98. So what happens to the intercept? Thank you. And so here we are. It's a parallel line, sorry. And so this is as M increases. decreases, intercept falls, and LM shifts down or to the right. You can, whichever you like. I would say to the right, to the right. And here, as M decreases, LM moves up. Here comes the big one, inflation. Here we go. As inflation increases, what happens to the LM? So P goes up. Here we are, folks. So we are almost there. All this is all going to come together in one story. Come on, Cordelia. P increase. Let's go step by step. Will anything affect the slope? No, because there's no P in the slope, right? So no change in the slope. What will it do to the intercept, Jessica? Thank you. So P is in the denominator. So P goes up, means denominator gets smaller. And so it becomes minus 92. So this is as P increases. And so therefore, LM shifts up or to the left as P increases and vice versa. And so I've got a simple rule for you folks, and then we'll be done. There's a golden rule for LM. That's all you need to know. Golden rule for LM. For LM shifting. If the ratio M over P increases due to an increase in M and or a decrease in P, what happens? So if this ratio M over P goes up due to either an M going up and or a decrease in P, what happens to the LM curve? Shifts to the right? Thank you. So LM shifts down or to the right. That's all you need to know. To the right and vice versa. And we are done with the LM. I'll just show you one more thing, then we'll call it a day. So you got to stay with your notes before next class, please, folks. So I'm going to show you one more thing here. So the LM we work with is going to be a nice clean version. This whole LM is like a weird LM, you know. It's got, here is the LM. This is 0 here, this is Y, this is I. This is a negative intercept. What does that mean, you know? That when income is 0, interest rates are negative, you're paying somebody money to borrow. This is noise. So what we do in macro, this is just junk. We throw all this away. And so the LM we will be using in macro is going to be this one here. So we clean all this out. This is junk, we throw it away. So the LM we'll be using in macro is going to look like this. It's going to be in this meaty part. And so this is not 0 here. This corner is not 0. It's some positive quadrant, first quadrant here. So that's going to be the LM that we will use. Next class we will put the IS on it. And so we're going to superimpose the two of them. But we've derived the two guys. We've practiced with them. We have many in-class exercises. You stay with your notes. I'm not giving you any homework between now and next week. But so we're going to be in this meaty part. This is this derivation. I'm going to throw it away. You guys tell me, what is this point here? I0, Y0, plain English, what is that point? Try not to look at the book. You superimpose the two. That's what we've been trying to do all day today. So here is IS, here is LM, here is I0, here is Y0, here is E0. Tell me in plain English, what is happening at E0 where both IS and LM finally boop, they click together? In plain English, what's going on? Thank you, Zahir. So that E0, at I0, Y0, we have, come on, tell me what?
Money supply and money demand.
We have simultaneous, come on. Yes, who said that? Simultaneous equilibrium, come on Megan, in the money market, which is LM, and in the goods market, which is IS. And so perfect timing. Babies are ready, they're done. And now when we meet next time, we will practice with them. So here we are E0. E0 lies on the IS. It's all goods market equilibrium. E0 lies on the LM. That's money market equilibrium. And we'll be able to see Biden's going to increase G. C bar and I bar going up and down in America. It's right now kind of low. M is going to go down. The Fed's hitting the brakes. China melts down. Well, that should figure into our story. Or wakes up, or India wakes up, or Europe wakes up. All together, tax rates, all in one diagram. And then to complicate things, we will see there are two ways to look at this in a couple of classes. Keynesians will have one story, and supply siders will have a different story. So, all this is coming. So stay with your notes. Thank you for having me here.